What's Zablin Zables? Welcome to Voicey here, and sorry, there's no gaming videos this week. This is your host, Captain Zach, and today's subreddit is r/IDontWorkHereLady. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode. This story's called Neon Karen Thinks I'm a Nurse. For a little background, I would explain that I suffer from a rare disease. I am literally 1 in a million, and I visit the hospital a lot. Not the emergency room, but the outpatient wing. For the past 2 years, I had follow-up visits and other appointments, like MRI, x-rays, blood testing almost every 2 weeks. It can sound weird, but rare diseases never come alone, and mine loves company. What I mean is that I have a lot of secondary conditions or comorbidities caused by having a rare disease, and every one of these conditions is treated by a different specialist, hence the many visits I've had this past 2 years. Now it's almost settled down since my internist is the one doing the follow-ups. About myself, I will say that I am of African descent, although my mom is the whitest of white women in the world. So I am what some people call white passing, although I've been mistaken for other ethnicities a lot, like Arabic, Roma, or Maghrebi. Also, I always wear black or really dark colors and my head shaved because one of the comorbidities. I also have PTSD because of being treated like a liar, a drug seeker, or mentally ill for years. About the hospital, well, it's a mess. It was built like a very luxurious hotel, and out of the blue, they turned it into a public hospital, which means tons of renovations that turned it into a maze. The staff get lost even though it has been opened for several years now. And now to the first IDontWorkHereLady story. A week ago, I was at the hospital looking for the internist's office. It was my first time seeing this particular doctor, so I arrived with plenty of time. My former internist has a very busy schedule and she asked if I wanted to change specialists, so I went along with it. One may think that if those two specialists have the same specialty, their offices would be next to each other, right? Wrong. This mess of a hospital is arranged by departments. My former specialist is from the Systemic Autoimmune Disease Department, and the new one is from the Rare Diseases Department, so their offices are on different floors. I was as lost as Santa on Easter. I was looking around trying to find the place when a wild Karen appeared. I have nystagmus, which means I can't focus on moving objects, and I see them as blurring. All of a sudden, I see this fluorescent blob coming from my right side as a nightmare in neon. "What do you think you're doing?" This ball of bright pink yells at me. Excuse me? I was very confused. "What do you think you are doing?" yells Neon Karen. There were so many thoughts running through my mind. Who is this lady? Why is she yelling at me? But most importantly, I was trying very hard to control myself since doctor's appointments trigger my PTSD, especially when I see a new doctor. PTSD can make me react in two opposite manners. I have a panic attack, or I am the most passive-aggressive bench you have ever come across. "I think you have me mistaken for someone else," I said politely. "I know you very good," answered Neon Karen. "I've seen you here a gazillion times." "And, what do you want?" Maybe it sounded rude, but I was trying really hard not to panic. "What do I want? Why is my poor little baby waiting for the doc to see him when we have been here for ages?" The little baby is a teenager with a full-grown beard. "I don't know. Why should I care?" Confusion took away my anxiety. "Why?" The screech was so loud that I saw people in the waiting room covering their ears. "It's your job to tell the doctors we are here." "No, it's not. She interrupted me to make clear that she was better than me. "These filthy immigrants that come to our country to steal our jobs, claim our benefits, and don't even bother to learn the language." I was baffled and pissed. The passive-aggressive bench was starting to show up. First of all, we are all speaking the same language. Second, I am a citizen. I was born in this country. And third, and most important, I am a patient. "No, you are not. I have seen you here a lot of times." People waiting for their appointments were starting to pay attention to us. I must point out that the waiting rooms at this hospital are not proper rooms. but the corridors in front of the doctor's offices. So there I was in the middle of a corridor having this ridiculous argument with Neon Karen. Oh, since you have seen me here many times, I must work here. The impeccable argument. The sarcasm entered Neon Karen's head from one ear, passed undisturbed through her brain, and left from the other ear. Have you seen me in uniform? She hesitated for a while, but then started lying.
Of course, you wear one of those blue scrubs.
Really? Blue scrubs? Only emergency staff wears them. What is my position in this hospital?
You are one of those nurses at the front desk.
The people at the front desk aren't nurses. They are administrative clerks and don't wear scrubs but short lab coats.
See, you know the uniform, you work here.
Anybody with a brain can differentiate nurses from administrative clerks. Oh, that's probably why you can't tell them apart.
What do you mean?
I bursted into laughter, and I wasn't the only one. I'm sure the people in the waiting room were genuinely laughing. Mine was more like a nervous laughter, trying to calm down and don't let Neon Karen get on my nerves. Ma'am, I used the most condescending tone I am able to articulate. I don't work here. Even if I worked here, I would never help you.
You're lying and I'm gonna complain. You're gonna get fired.
Her face was as pink as the tracksuit she was wearing. A tracksuit I am sure has never seen a gym or any kind of exercise in its long life. Good luck trying to fire someone that does not work here. At this point, almost everybody in the corridor is laughing loudly.
Why is everyone laughing? Stop laughing!
Now her face was brighter than the tracksuit. Even her son was laughing. He tried to placate her since a voice on the speakers was compelling the people in the waiting room to remain quiet. He even apologized to me. "I'm so sorry. My mom gets very upset when I have to visit the doctor," he said. By the way, I asked him, which department is it? Dermatological and venereal diseases. As I said before, lost as Santa on Easter. I was about to thank him when Neon Karen interrupted me again.
Why are you asking? You should know.
For the last time. I don't work here! I started to walk away, trying to focus on looking for the rare diseases department, or at least a real staff member that could help me. I was fuming but trying to stay calm since abrupt changes in my blood pressure can be dangerous. All of a sudden, I see a black object coming from my back and crashing into the floor in front of me. It was a mobile phone.
How dare you turn your back on me?
There is only one thing that can make me switch from passive-aggressive to full-on aggressive, and that is physical violence. Alright, little side note from Captain Zach. I'm about to let loose, so ready those ears.
Listen here, you motherfucking bench! If you try to hit me again, I will beat you into a pulp! I don't work here! I never did! But even if I did, you are not entitled to treat anyone like crap! Who do you think you are? You are nothing but a piece of trash that thinks that everybody owes you something, when in reality, you are the one that should be grateful for not having been beaten!
I was feeling my heart beating in my head. I started feeling dizzy. My vision was blurring, and I could hardly hear anything. I don't remember much from this point on because I fainted. It is called a syncopal episode. When I recovered consciousness, security was there. Also, a couple of nurses were taking care of me and trying to put me on a stretcher. I was already wearing a cervical collar and had a sphygmomanometer on my arm. Neon Karen was fake crying and complaining about me. I didn't hear what she said, but I heard another patient telling security that she was lying. "I know," answered one of the security guys. "That's why we're here. We saw everything through the cameras." Neon Karen was stubbornly sticking to her lies and started mumbling something along the lines of,
She was rude to me. She's a freaking more of crap. She should get fired.
Then one of the nurses, who I know from previous visits, says,
She does not work at this hospital.
Neon Karen, being the empty-spaced head that she has shown to be, asked,
If she doesn't work here, why have I seen her every time I came here? Because she is a patient and hospitals are full of them,
answered the nurse.
Well, then you shouldn't let people like her wander around the hospital. What if we caught whatever she has? I don't want to be a bald bench.
You already have an empty head. If you shaved your head like I did, your outside would match your insides. I could not shut my mouth. It was too easy. She was about to reply when one of the security guys interrupted her to inform her that she was being arrested. Instead of being a rational human being, Neon Karen started yelling that she was being assaulted by security. It took 2 security guys to get her cuffed. When police arrived, I was on a stretcher with a cervical collar, and yet she was claiming to be the victim. I was sent to the ER, so I didn't know what happened until much later. The story went as follows. Police retrieved all the security footage, and since the incident happened in a public space, she was immediately charged with aggravated disruption of public order and aggravated assault. Picking up a fight in a hospital and assaulting a disabled person are aggravated circumstances in my country. I didn't have to press charges, but I will be called to court as a victim. But that is not the funny part of the story. When I was in the ER, the nurse I know came to visit and told me the whole thing. In every hospital in the region, we are talking about 50 hospitals, there is a machine at the entrance of every outpatient area. When you leave the elevator or the staircase, this machine greets you with a really big sign on its screen that reads, "Before you enter the waiting room, please let us know you are here." When you get closer to it, you can see a smaller sign that reads, "Please enter your health service card in the slot," and an arrow pointing to the slot. After the machine reads your card, it tells you which office is your doctor's, and your name appears on a monitor above the doctor's office. Basically, this machine is like a clock-in system. Guess what? Neon Karen never put the card in the slot. What the nurse heard from her poor son is that they arrived late to the appointment, and her mother assumed that the kid's name would already be on the list. Apparently, she did it on purpose. Neon Karen thought that the names show on the list at the time of the appointment, not at the very moment the card is put in the slot. Her son told her she was wrong, and other people in the waiting room told her so, when she started complaining that her kid's name was not on the list. I asked for the kid. He looked like a nice person despite being raised by Neon Karen. The nurse told me that he was still a minor, despite the beard, and they called his dad. His parents were divorced, and Neon Karen had custody. His dad came to take care of him. Apparently, his many visits to the hospital were because he had a venereal disease but did not want to tell his mother. But since he is a minor, she was present at every doctor's appointment, so he did not tell the doctors about his problems down there. In the end, a doctor figured out what was happening and he was sent to a venereal specialist. At the end, I did miss my appointment, but I was rescheduled for next week. I hope this time I do not find another Neon Karen. I'm always so impressed at people who learn English as a second or third language or so on, and they write these really long stories and they're actually very well written. Definitely better than a lot of stories written by native English speakers, so I'm always so impressed. But anyways, I don't have much to say other than that, Neon Karen, horrible mother, horrible person, just bad, yeah. And our Redditor here actually really blew up on her, so that was pretty cool. My voice is gone though. This story's called, "Today I Fudged Up by Asking a Police Officer to Call Me a Cab." Obligatory didn't happen today, but like half a year ago. It all started with a close friend of mine inviting me out for a couple of cold ones on a quiet Thursday evening. I had nothing planned the next day, and since I hadn't seen him for some time, I agreed without much hesitation. Since we lived across the town from each other, we decided to meet halfway in a bar neither of us had been prior to that day. He took his bicycle to get there, and I decided to get a taxi. The place was nice and cozy, not too many people since it was a Thursday. As we were catching up, we both kind of lost our sense of time. After a solid number of beers, I surprisingly realized that it was already past 3 a.m. already and decided to head home. We both had had just enough drinks to be perfectly drunk. Pretty drunk, but nothing too bad. We finished our beers, said goodbye, and he took off on his bike, and I decided to use the bathroom before ordering an Uber. That's where the F-up starts. I then found out that my phone is dead. Well, not a huge problem, I guess. There has to be someone who can order me a cab, I thought. And what a coincidence. As I step outside and walk a couple of hundred meters towards the city center, I see 3 police vehicles. Drunk me didn't think anything of it, not suspicious at all. I walk up to one of the officers nearby and kindly ask, "Hello sir, could you please order me a cab by any chance? I just realized that my phone has died." Trying to sound as sober as I possibly can at the same time, no answer. I decided to try this guy again. Sorry, sir, I really need a cab home and would be more than grateful if you could order me one or let me use your phone for that matter. Still nothing. After a couple of seconds of trying to understand what my options are here, I, for some reason, decide to ask the same officer a question which really pisses him off. I ask, "Do you guys have some sort of problem here?" Obviously starting to realize that 6 policemen probably aren't having their 4 a.m. coffee together at the moment. Before I could blink, the same guy tackles me onto the concrete, face first, and handcuffs me. I get thrown in the back of the police van without explanation or even an opportunity to ask for the reason behind this. They kept me in the van for about 2 hours alone and still clueless about what is going on. After a couple of hours, they told me that I am now free to go and it was just a mistake. Still, too many questions. I asked them if they could call me a cab, but instead they offered to drop me off. Sounds good. They didn't exactly take me home, rather left me like 2 kilometers away. But at this moment, it felt better than being locked in the police van anyway, so I decided to walk home. Still a bit drunk and very tired, I decide to go to sleep and figure everything out in the morning. I wake up with blood all over my pillow and bed from slitting my eyebrow while being tackled by this cop, and see news article my friend had sent me. The very same friend I went out with. Turns out that at around 3 a.m. that night, one guy shot 2 taxi drivers in the same area and then fled from the scene. The police had just gotten there and were looking for the suspect who had just shot 2 taxi drivers, while this drunk guy came to a police officer 4 a.m. Friday morning asking for a taxi. Wrong time, wrong place. That friend of mine was in for a story of a lifetime though. Wow, that could have ended a lot worse. Oy. Also, I'm curious, did the police, do something super illegal there? Because there were no Miranda rights read, and this dude was locked up and he was tackled to the ground for absolutely no reason. I get that they thought that it was the cab killer guy, but still, I feel like that was improperly handled, very much so. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.